Yo, what's good? We back at it. It's your boy said that the scales will prevail. We here to do the Sagittarius Ascendant. You know what I mean? We following through in the series in terms of your ascendant signs and balancing out your polarities on each house cusp. And we're just going to talk about Sagittarius. You know what I mean? Who you guys are. We're using whole sign houses. The reason being is because we don't want any intercepted or duplicated signs in any houses. So this is going to be able to reach more people. It should still resonate with you even if you're accustomed to using a different system. Such as Placidus, which is a very popular house system, or any other house system. So each sign will be prescribed to a house or assigned to a house. You got Sagittarius on the first house, you got Capricorn on the second, Aquarius on the third, Pisces on the fourth house right here, and Aries is going to be on the fifth house. Taurus is going to be on the sixth house. You got Gemini on the seventh, Cancer on the eighth, Leo on the ninth, Virgo on the 10th, Libra on the 11th house, and then you got Scorpio on the 12th house basically, all right? So let's start it off. You got Sagittarius Ascendants, right? Sagittarius is a very expansive and big type of energy. This is coming into the house of self. It's coming into the house of physical appearance. The way you perceive the world basically would be about expanding and growth, self-growth to be exact. You got to think of it like this though. Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, and Jupiter is the biggest planet in the solar system. So it is about expansion and growth and big things, right? You could also be prone to gaining weight when you have Sagittarius on the first house, as this is coming to the house of the physical appearance. So that's just something to be mindful of. It's going to make you naturally someone who has a lot of wisdom, who's about basically, it could be preachy as well too, philosophical or religious. You know, you can apply in different ways, but that's just something to think about. So being the fact that you're very wise, you're someone who's about learning, because Sagittarius wants to learn. Whether that be through traveling or just studying a lot, you know, being that you're kind of, this is a teacher energy, so being that you're kind of have that teacher energy ingrained within you, in your relationships with this, which is the seventh house, it can show forth for you attracting people who are kind of like the student, like Gemini is like a student type of energy. It's a very youthful energy, so if you come off as the guru. In Vedic astrology, they call the planet Jupiter, which rules over Sagittarius, they call it guru, by the way. But you could come off as the guru or the teacher, which is Sagittarius energy. Excuse the noise in the background. So this is why, again, you attract very curious people, because Gemini is also curious, and it can be youthful people, people who are looking for intellectual knowledge to learn, because Gemini, again, is a very, it wants to know a lot of things, basically. Jack of all trades, right? It can show forth for a lot of communication going on within the area of your relationships. But Gemini, I always say, is not the deepest sign, so it can show a fickleness and it can show change going on within this area, you know, but it could be just a lot of communication going on. If you are communicating a lot in your relationships, and you're kind of overly invested in that and within a lot of people, because Gemini represents a variety, literally, it's the twins, this is showing that you need to get back to kind of self-expansion, right? And then if you're self-expanding too much, then get back to communicating in your relationships, right? And you know, giving forth that knowledge, basically. You got Capricorn in the second house. Capricorn in the second house versus Cancer. So, with Capricorn in the second house, this is your possessions, your assets, your money, your values, what you value, basically. You value your career, your status, your legacy when you got Capricorn in the second house. You could also be a bit more cautious with your finances, as there would have been some type of restriction in this area. So you have to learn to be the responsible and reliable one for your finances, for your assets, you know what I mean, for your resources. So being that you're wanting to be kind of like responsible and reliable in this area, Capricorn is an authoritative type of energy, then this is saying that you need to go towards nurturing or get back to nurturing the people that you're intimate with, whether that be sexual or just people that you're close to, if it's not sexual. This is how you balance out the energies. If you're being overly nurturing and kind of caught up more in the 8th house, which is sharing your resources, which is what the 8th house represents. It represents intimacy, sex. If you're too much of the mother or nurturing, which is Cancer, in this area of life, then you need to get back to being responsible and reliable for your finances, basically, and the things that you value, basically. That's how you balance that out. It's interesting though, because I told you in the 7th house you have Gemini here, so Gemini is kind of like not the deepest sign in terms of your relationships, but when people are intimate with you, you do like to nurture them, and you got water on the 8th house of sex and intimacy, so you like deeper connections in these areas, basically. Aquarius on the 3rd versus Leo on the 9th. This is telling us that you think in a very progressive way. Your thoughts are ahead of your time. Basically, you have a certain level of genius in terms of your thinking, basically. And this also represents your neighborhood. It represents siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins. So it's a bit of aloofness or detachment within this area, right? But you feel a bit unique. You may have felt like you didn't fit in for your thoughts, or just, you know, how you express yourself, being that you could be ahead of your time in this area. So this is why with Leo in the 9th house, you want to be seen for the things that you believe in, because opposite of that, Aquarius, we talked about your thoughts, and even with siblings, you feel a bit unique and different, right? You know, you feel like the oddball out, you know what I mean? But you're progressive in this area. Now, if you're overly wanting to be seen for the things that you believe in, which is Leo in the 9th house, Leo is the king. It's about shining, attention. Then you need to get back to kind of just like detaching and kind of like progressing in this area, which is amongst these same people that you may feel a bit aloof from, basically. What you talked about is, you know, siblings, cousins, you know, things of that nature. That's how you kind of balance out the energies. Pisces on the 4th versus Virgo on the 10th. So you got Pisces on the 4th. Your inner nature is kind of sensitive. We're not talking about just the moon sign, because the 4th house represents your feelings as well too, just like the moon sign. You have to look separately for that, because you always want to compare the information energies. But you could be very sensitive, basically. When you have Pisces on the 4th house, there's also some things about your mother and family that you don't know, or that you could be a bit unclear on, even in your upbringing. But you, at the same time, Pisces is a very giving energy, so you want to give and sacrifice. And you're kind of like the savior to your family, basically. So, you know, you got to be mindful of that if you're overly wanting to give and save your family, basically. Because Pisces is, it wants to merge with others, you know, it's very compassionate, right? So if you're overly giving, giving and sacrificing it in this area of family and home, it's saying that you need to self-improve in your career, in the outer world, your public image, your status, things of that nature, basically, which is all what Virgo represents. It represents self-improvement and perfecting and working on. Now, if you're overly working on this area too much, which is, again, career, status, reputation, the outer world, then you need to get back to giving towards your private world, or your inner world, which is, and in private, your home life, family, which is all the 4th house. That's how you balance out the energies. We got Aries on the 5th house versus Libra on the 11th. With Aries on the 5th, you come off as kind of independent, basically, in terms of how you self-express. This is the house of self-expression. So you come off, you got like a warrior type of energy. You can be very direct, a bit fiery, impulsive. A good leader, you know what I mean? Definitely a good leader, because you're saying that you self-express like a Aries. I consider this 5th house the house of Leo or the sun. So it's kind of like your identity, just like the sun sign. So I like to compare this with your sun sign, kind of to see the two different energies. But yeah, you come off as an Aries type of individual. You may be a bit, what's the word I want to use? You may be a bit like confrontational, you know what I mean? So opposite that, in your 11th house of friends and acquaintances, groups of people, you need to be more balanced and more of a Libra, which is kind of like diplomatic, basically, more peaceful, because of the energy, how you can naturally come off like. Now, if you're being too overly balanced, too fair, you're not wanting to ruffle feathers, because Libra, you know, wants to keep the peace. If you're being too peaceful and a diplomat, then you need to get back to kind of being, you know, that strong one, that leader, that head, the one who can confront people if you need to. You know what I mean? So that's just how you balance out the energies. Taurus on the 6th house versus Scorpio on the 12th house. Let's see. Okay, so let me go to your 12th house, then I'll relate it back to the 6th. So 12th house is what you do behind the scenes, kind of like in private, in isolation. Scorpio represents evolution. You're evolving behind the scenes. You could be into mysteries, occult matters. You know, this could be things that you're naturally drawn to. You could dream about evolution, transforming yourself, because 12th house also represents dreams. Being that you're doing this in private, this is again why you come off as the teacher when people first meet you, because when you're in private, you know, you're tapping into the mysteries or the secrets, basically. 12th house, this could be show forth for being into forensic investigations, watching these types of shows, or conspiracy theories, you know what I mean? And just, again, deep transformation is what Scorpio represents, death and rebirth. So this is how you're kind of evolving behind the scenes when people aren't around or in isolation. So in your work and in your daily routines amongst co-workers, you need to be kind of like stable with them and secure this area because you're evolving behind the scenes, basically. Now, if you're overly kind of more in this energy of the 6th house, Taurus represents comfortability, right? So if you're too comfortable in your work life, as you do want to be stable in your work, right? But if you're too comfortable and stable in this area and also amongst co-workers, then you need to get back to, again, evolving behind the scenes. That's pretty much it. This is the Sagittarius Ascendant. I appreciate y'all for tuning in, and I hope y'all get something from it. So yeah, holla at your boy. We got more videos coming soon. All right, y'all, peace.